Hey, everybody. Welcome Sunday morning.
Yay, Sunday
Welcome.
morning.
Yes, welcome to Spiritual Discoveries with Dan and Angela. And we hope you find some new discoveries today. Today, we want to talk about a movie that you may have never heard of. It's called Shirley MacLaine, Out on a Limb. And it really is out on a limb, isn't it,
It's
Angela?
truly out on a limb.
Totally unbelievable, amazing spiritual experiences this lady had from a place of total unbelief, place of total not even being aware of what was about going to happen to her on her spiritual journey. And the reason we wanted to share this with you, because me and Angela have realized similar things on our spiritual journey. I was a Jehovah's Witness 40 years. Angela was in Worldwide
Church of God.
and Church of God for a long time. And we were born in these religious ideas, right? We were put, born into our mothers, and the mother nurtured us and grew us into these religions, right? I was born a Jehovah's Witness. Angela was born in her ideal. And we grew up, and this world that we lived in seemed to be the only world. It seemed to be the only reality, and mine was all based. I don't want to go into my religion, but once I left my religion, I was kind of dumbfounded. Angela was too. Where do we go from here? Where do we find truth? Where's the next truth? My God, we got to find it. We never did. We found there's a lot of truths out there and a lot of falsehoods and a lot of different roads that go every different direction. But the main thing, what we found was the journey was beautiful. The journey's wonderful. The journey is worth the journey. And, as I was in the Jehovah's Witnesses, for 40 years, I was starting to be sad. I was only waiting for the world to end. I was in this little idea of this thinking that was given to me by my mom and dad and the church. And I didn't realize there was this big world and all this experiences out here to happen. So me and Angela decided, Angela at some point in her life and at some point in my life, we decided to take a spiritual journey, which means we left the idea that was handed down. We didn't throw it all away, but we wanted an expanded version of our reality. And it's ever expanding because when you go out and say, I want the next truth, I hope I got the truth and the whole truth and, the whole truth and nothing but the truth and the next spiritual idea, it's not the whole truth and the whole truth. That was a discovery for us.
Well, actually, we found that whenever you ask, it says even in the Bible that you ask, you shall receive.
Yes.
And seek and you will find. And I'm telling you what, I find that when I ask a question and I really want to know something, man, it's like the next day. Dan's somehow talking about it, or it's in some movie, or it's in some book, or something. It's like, okay, you want to know about that? You got it. I'm serious, you guys. It's like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun because I feel like I'm being divinely guided to think the things I kind of want to know about anyway.
That's a good point.
So that's cool.
Yeah, who's the thinker in us, Why was I planted in Jehovah's Witnesses and not Muslim? Why was Angela planted in, Worldwide Church of God and not in Tibetan, or wherever, on a garbage dump in Africa, eating out of dumps, poor, sick. Why were we born into this situation? But the cool thing is if we're willing, if we're brave, we can actually enter a spiritual journey that's beyond the limitations of the belief systems that we were born into. And what you find out, and this was a spiritual discovery, is that there's a whole new world just outside the belief systems that we held near and dear.
That's right.
So those belief systems of Jehovah's Witness, and we're the only ones, and God's got to kill everybody else. Outside of that is a whole bunch of people, billions of people who believe totally different than we do. Surprise, spiritual discovery, right? Now, somebody else that's been through academia might say, well, I know about all the world religions. I've studied them. That's his experience. But beyond that, guys, there's things that are beyond even our thinking, as what Shirley MacLaine experienced. She had this, maybe Angela can introduce her now, but that's why we wanted to share it. We want you to say, hey, there's life beyond our thinkingness. There's life beyond our little realities that we created with our mom and pop and our school teacher and or the government ideals. There's life beyond that. We are made in God's image and likeness. We are amazing people. Jesus even said, these and greater things you'll do. So we want to encourage you to have that in mind if you're stuck in the consciousness that this is all there is, this little bitty tiny world I live in, Jehovah's Witness, or Angela's little world she lives in. There's something way beyond, and we can actually experience it right now. You don't have to wait for heaven. You don't have to wait for whatever. You can experience it right now. As we saw in the movie, what's it? Eat, Love, Pray. Lady, same thing, abusive relationship, husband, not too nice to her. She goes in the bathroom, starts crying and says, I'm going to do something different. And she told him goodbye. And she went on this amazing journey, self-discovery, traveled the world, wrote books, went to every kind of tradition. It was beautiful. And her soul sung, and her soul was like, I love this. I love this. I love learning. I love this. God is bigger than my little idea. God's bigger than my religion. And all of a sudden, she just loved life, and we can love life too.
Amen. And I want that in my everyday life.
We want to travel. Me and Angela, we're wanting to go to Spain. We're wanting to go to Israel. We're wanting to go to Peru. We're wanting to go to all the Mountain Picchu. We're wanting to see these places. We're wanting to drink in all that God have. Everything I have is yours, the Bible says. Everything. The Bible says everything I have is yours. But if we stay in these little concepts of me against them, or us are the only right ones, but if we actually opened up a little bit, and this is what we want to encourage you, you won't get on those spiritual discoveries if all you want is a little thing that you have, your little religion. The spiritual discoveries have gone bye-bye. I'm staying in my little place. I'm staying safe. I'm staying in the church. I'm staying in this little idea.
And why do we do that? And we do that because we're so afraid that other people will not accept us, that they'll boot us out, that we won't be a part of the tribe anymore. And it's terrifying.
The church gets mad. They instill fear. You're not going to get to heaven. If you look for that next spiritual idea, that's Satan. He's trying to mislead you.
That's right. I was just going to say that actually. And they put the fear of God into you to not look in that demonic direction. Do you know what I mean? Like think about the fact that these the experiences people had where they popped out of their bodies. Everybody in life has had these, kind of inklings of stories of this being told to them, that I came out of my body. I was at a campground one time, and this lady said, I've been through a lot of abuse, whatever. And you know what? I lived most of my life out of my body, just up there, just kind of floating around, but not in my body. And I'm like, I didn't know what to think about it. I'm like, well, maybe you should try to stay in it more often. I didn't really know what to say, but people have been having these experiences for a long time. Dan's had the experience of popping out. And usually it's when you've had a lot of abuse. A lot of the time, that's when it first happens to someone. But look, we've all been afraid to talk about such things. And then people dying. Okay, there have been countless stories through all the ages of people having these death experiences where they came out of their bodies and they went up into the heavenly realm, and they had this incredible experience. They came back and they wanted to tell everybody about it. They would try to, and then they'd be shut down. Don't ever mention that again. That's what they'd say, because that would meant that you were in the demonic world, and then you can't tell anyone at church, for God's sake. You can't tell your friends, because in that day, and well, forever now, it's been that you'll be considered out of your mind, mentally ill, seriously. And so just now, people are starting to be okay with hearing these stories, okay? Not necessarily wanting to go there. They're just curious. Like, maybe because we're beginning to not be happy with our experiences in our churches. They're not satisfying. They're not taking us where we need to go. We have this inner knowingness that there must be something more. And just this morning, Dan was telling me, this guy that I even highly admire, I don't know that he's still alive, but this Dick Hansen guy, friend of Dan's, he was very wealthy. He had everything you could ever want. And he had a relationship with God. He had as good a church as you could get, Christian. And he said to Dan's in his home, his beautiful, gorgeous home. He has everything you could ever want, a great wife, everything. And he goes, Dan, this better not be all there is. That's all I got to say.
And he was in a fundamentalist Christian religion. And he says it can't be just, big homes and money, because he had all he needed. He had investments, family money passed down to him.
And involved in his church,
Yeah, but he wasn't experiencing the spiritual that's here. Yeah, the life beyond. These and greater things you'll do. So he became bored. So let's get into this movie. We want to talk about it. I want to tell you, you can find Shirley MacLaine Out on a Limb on YouTube. It's a rare movie, but the whole thing's on there. There's several versions. We had one the other day we got on YouTube. It wasn't clear a little bit, it had a little fuzzy, but there's several versions of it on there. So find a good version of Shirley MacLaine out on a limb, YouTube. There's usually a part B and a part A. Part B is over 2 hours long.
Yeah, yeah.
Part A is over 2 hours long. It's about a
Mm.
4-hour
Oh,
movie.
wow, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it's long.
Wow. Well, I'm glad they did it right. I really, really am. Because I mean, back in that day, you guys, to make this kind of a movie was absolutely forbidden. I don't even believe that somebody was willing to put the money into it, especially knowing it's 4 hours. My God.
Yeah, this is a big movie.
It is a big
And she
movie.
risked her whole
She
career
did.
to put this movie out. She was a
She was a
dancer,
dancer.
you know, on Broadway and New York. She danced. That was her little thing.
Yeah.
And then she had this spiritual encounter with this man, which Angela
Yes.
would talk about.
Yeah. So
But then she's like, oh my God, it's like this crisis of conscience. Do I just sit with this and keep it all to myself? Well, this guide was saying, please tell the world. That's why it was told to you. But anyway, it was told to you because you have a huge audience
yeah.
and you can tell us the world.
Let
But
me
read
back
it. Let
it up.
Angela read a little bit about
Yeah,
her.
let me just back it up just a little bit. First of all, what I want to say about Shirley is that she's like a pioneer. And you know, being that she was an actress on Broadway all the time, she talked about even when she was in her 50s, dancing, you know, 2 shows back to back, going home, you know, but she got into a spiritual meditation. Now, back in the day, as you probably maybe know, or maybe you don't, that meditation was not even allowed. That was also considered to be demonic of Satan. And unfortunately, there's still churches today, lots of Christian churches that feel this way still today. But people are getting to be now where they're willing to go into meditation. I even taught it in jail. I call it Christianized meditation. That's what I called it back then. But you know, you just simply are sitting in a presence with God and allowing Him to come in and fill the space, and you feel the warm light in the middle of your body, or they call it the solar plexus area, and you just expand each of the chakras, which is also related to emotion. Like, for example, your base chakra is red. It's at the very bottom of your spine. And it has to do with, you know, being connected. It has to do with some of the deeper, worse emotions of anger and fear. And so if you're upset, you sit and you listen to your body and you feel this sense of warm, you kind of go in a circle with, and you look at the red color and you just like, oh, you know, that's really kind of tight down there. And you release and you realize what you're angry about, and you release it. And then you go to the next chakra up, which is orange. So it kind of goes up in the color spectrum, orange, and that's your emotional area. Maybe if you're being rejected by someone and so you're like, oh, I'm really uncomfortable in this area. Oh, my ovary hurts. Oh, and so you start dealing with that. So these are the kinds of things that she was already dealing with before this experience that she had ever came about. She was really trying to get to know the body, connecting God with her, and being connected with God on the inside. And she did a lot of research, a lot of books about it. Going Within is one. I really, really like this book, Going Within, by Shirley MacLaine. She has some really, really great things. She really, really got a handle on, you know, what's really going on. So look, she wasn't like your basic Christian, right? And I would say that she was during the 60s when there was the hippie movement. So already meditation and yoga was coming into play. So she kind of probably was a little bit enjoying some of those things she was discovering, and really learning about it. So then she was, I think it was in San Diego. No, she was in New York probably, right, Dan?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that she was at an art gallery,
Yeah.
art show, and she met this guy named David, and his artwork. He was probably standing there by his artwork. It was incredible, but it was otherworldly. It was of another world.
Another dimension.
Yes. And she's like in awe of it and just studying it. And he's like, I've been there. It's like, what? What do you mean you've been there? And she was like shocked, like, you've been there?
He's like, that's how I drew it. I was
Yeah,
there.
I
I've
was
seen
there.
it.
Right.
And she's like, so she became
She
intrigued.
was very intrigued. She bought that picture, first of all. I remember her taking
Yep.
it. I saw it in the movie. She took it home. And so then I think she was on a beach now. Yeah, I'm just positive it was in San Diego, but I could be wrong. But I think it was San Diego. And I like as if she had a home there or something. And then this David guy shows up there. And oh, you know, chance meeting you kind of thing. And so he starts to tell her that, you know, after they've talked for a while, sat and they talked about the things that were of the heart, you know. And all of a sudden he says, you know, I was told by this woman.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
He didn't tell her that till later.
But no.
But he's asking her to go over there. And then
Okay, that's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
So he said to her, I feel that you're somebody that I was told that I was going to meet someone, and that I was to pass some information on to them. And I think that you're that person. And so then he said, look, it's deep, but will you come with me to
Peru.
Peru, to Peru? And I need to show you some things there. And so they arranged it, and she was able, I mean, she had plenty of money. She was an actress, and
And she
a
was,
dancer.
and just so you know, she was kind of skeptical.
She was
Like
very
most of us. I
skeptical.
want to say this about the spiritual journey. Whenever you're invited to go to this new place, this new spiritual center, this new book, it's always a little frightening. You know,
It
always the
is.
inside always says, you know, where in the heck am I going? You know, so she was like, I'm an actor, I'm a dancer, I'm going over to Machu Picchu, you know, Peru, with some stranger that I met on the beach. I bought a piece of his art. Like, what's going on here?
Right. But she was extremely drawn to this guy.
Yes.
Now, this guy was probably 20 years younger than her. There was no sexual attraction. There never, ever was. He just was a very intriguing person. And I think that she was very taken aback by different perspectives that he had, that they discussed on the beach, that they discussed since she'd known him. So she was intrigued. And she'd already been studying outside of the box anyway. I'm going to put it that way, outside of the box of basic Christianity. So she decided to go. And so they met, and it was a crazy trip. It really, really was. And because I'm just going to call her the pioneer. So, you know, right now, a lot of the things that she shared 50 years ago, that's how long ago that this all, you know, when she was, a lot of this was when she was like in her 40s, and, you know, right around in that age range. She's now 89.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's been 50 years, I figured, today. And I'm like, wow. So we're just now beginning to open up to the ideas of it. So, you know, when anything is new, it's like someone plants a seed, and that seed begins to percolate and grow slowly until finally, now 50 years later, these things that she put out there to the world to think about are now coming to the fore. And people are starting to consider it. That's how long it takes for us to change, guys, and to even consider something new. It's so scary. So she did go to Peru, and they have a road. I think it's called I don't know, Flying Saucer Road or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, they showed the sign there in Peru, and sure enough, all the time, all the townspeople all said, yeah, all the time we have these flying saucers that come, they land here for real.
Yeah.
And
People on the buses, when they were traveling to this destination, which was way up this mountain, were saying, oh, we see them all the time, all the time. They were talking in Spanish, and oh, they come out of the water, they go way down in the water, and then they come out, and they said, oh, it's just usual here. So she was like, are you kidding me?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
for real?
Yeah, now I really do feel this friend of hers was truthfully, I am so convinced that he was an angel sent on a mission to find this person who would carry on the information that he was sent to convey. And so Shirley was chosen. And that became very apparent that that was the truth. She came alone. She was not really hooked with anyone. She had a guy that she really liked, but he was married. So that was kind of inconvenient. But so she went there, and she learned so many things. He like showed her how you can connect with God and the universe, and kind of showed her. He actually had a moment where he was gone for a while, and they're sitting in this wonderful area of a hot water. What do you call it? Springs,
Sulfur spring,
Yeah.
mineral water, yeah.
And he was just sitting there, and he's talking to her about his spiritual things, and all of a sudden she could tell he's not there right now. And so she just let him have his space, and she wrote notes while he's asleep, it seemed as though. Meditating.
Deep meditation.
And
He
she,
wasn't there.
yeah, and she's been in meditation, so she knows how deep you can go in meditation. So she let him alone, and then came back, and he comes back, okay, hi, like, wow, that was great. It was great. So he told her about what he experienced and all that. So anyway, another time, and another hot springs experience, he showed her how you just meditate on this candle, and you just become one with the candle, and you just keep seeing yourself as one with that candle. It's the light, and let it go within, and you become the light, and you become one with it. And so next thing you know, she did that when he was meditating one time, when he wasn't really paying attention. She started doing that, and she popped out of her body. She went up into the heavenly realm, and she saw that she was connected to the earth, into her physical body, because out of her physical body came this other spiritual body went up into the heavenlies and saw the earth and saw other earths and saw the, moon. And I think she said she was heading to the moon. And then all of a sudden she thought, I wonder how far this cord goes,
Silver cord.
silver cord. And so then all of a sudden, boom, as soon as she thought that limit, she said, as soon as I thought that limiting thought, I would pop back in my body, just like that. So that was a very real experience. I mean, she'd already had a lot of experiences. Like one time there's this thing called the crystal skull, and I guess it's the biggest crystal in the world that there is. And I don't remember what country it was in, but anyway, she had the money and she had the time. She went to this place and she was allowed to go into the place where it was kept. It looked like it was a home, if you ask me. And they let her go into the room, and you do whatever you want with it, just sit with it. Apparently it had like things that it caused you to know by having it by your body. So she took it and I think in her bosom maybe, or on her chest, I don't remember, and just laid down with it. Well, she literally went into another world, and she saw her father, and he was giving a lecture about things that again are not of this world, things that were really cool. That he was talking about the yin and the yang, and I don't know, things about the different parts of us that we don't talk about today, things that were deeply spiritual. And she's like, whoa, that's my dad giving a lecture about all these deeply spiritual things that we don't talk about today. She's intrigued. And then all of a sudden the clock goes gling, ding, ding in the room. And all of a sudden she's back in her body. And she's like, whoa, that was my dad. It was so real. So she had all these, real experiences even before she went to this place. So then David tells her that, there's this a lady that comes from those flying saucers that they land, and he's had an experience with one of them physically she's taught him, and he's known her in a physical way, met her and all that. And so anyway, I know that she never met this woman, but yeah, I know she didn't, because he said that one day he gave her like a brace. She gave him, David, a bracelet, and said that one day, if this person that you tell this information to is not willing to accept what you're saying, I want you to give them this bracelet. It was like a big silver bracelet from her. And so sure enough, when David was telling her all this stuff, she was like freaking out, like, you're nuts, you're nuts. She was kicking him, like, yeah, you brought me all the way out here to show me what this crazy, you're nuts, David. And it was like that. So he said, look, we'll consider this. And I can't remember what she said, but it was like, it's like, okay, well, that's thought provoking. And he goes, look, she told me that if you really were resistant to give you this, and he just puts it on her wrist. She decides not to take it off, and she went off for 3 days and was furious at him. Now she's only there for 2 weeks. So she gets really mad. She takes his Jeep. She goes off into the Never Land, windy hills, craziness in the middle of nowhere. And the Jeep breaks down. And she's just really like scared because it's going into the middle of the night. It's getting foggy, a little bit slightly like eerie. And she's hearing animals, starting to come out in the night. Like, oh my God, I'm going to be eaten alive. And so she starts remembering some of the things that he had taught her already, and remembers the bracelet. So she knows what he's capable of. She knows that he's like way beyond any of us in his spiritual life. And so she takes the bracelet off. She gets out and she holds it up and she says, David, hear me, David, hear me. And she kept saying from her heart, feeling it, David, hear me, see me. And he wakes up from his sleep, and he suddenly knows exactly everything. And he gets in his other car and he drives, and he knows exactly where to go. And then when he gets kind of near, he says, Shirley, yell, can you hear me? And then she's like, I'm over here. So he gets over to her, and she just bawls and cries and bawls and cries. And like, how in the world did you find me? How did you know where I was? And he's like, I got the message, right? Like, is that otherworldly or what? I mean, we've heard of sixth sense, right? But it was weird. So then he even scares her more. And he says, okay, I'm going to tell you something. This lady I told you that I've had communication with, that is from another world, who is, she's giving me this information. I'm to share this information with you. He says, I'm going to let you see something. So he said, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to take my hand off the steering wheel, and she is going to drive this vehicle home. And well, I'll
Not
say,
Shirley MacLaine.
no, no, not Shirley. He says, now, this is all I ask you to do. Do not, do not, do not, do not touch the steering wheel. So he takes his hands off, he closes his eyes, and the car's already driving, okay? And all of a sudden, she's driving the car. The whole way his eyes are closed the entire time, and she takes him, well, and she's not a very calm driver either. It was pretty crazy driver. It reminded me of my dad. I'm like, my dad drives just like that. I'm like, oh my God. But a couple of times she wanted to take the steering wheel, and she was reminded, no, do not, you are not to do. So she didn't. And all of a sudden she starts laughing, and the car is being driven by some force, and she starts laughing like, this is completely crazy. Oh my God, this is nuts, you know? Well, anyway, she had all these experiences, and so it's way more than I'm telling you, okay? But anyway, he said that he had a situation where the flying saucer, came upon it when it was just landing. And he was allowed to stand there and experience it, but he knew that he should not go forward to it or anything. Do you remember thinking more about that, the thing when he was standing by that saucer? Anyway, he had some.
Yeah, he just said he listened to his heart, and he said, I'm not going to go near it. Or he maybe had fear, reservation, but
He said he didn't have any fear. He said he didn't have any
but he
fear.
just decided not to.
He knew not
And when he
to.
said he wasn't going to, it went shh, he
Yeah.
took off.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
that was I think that he said that after that he never saw that woman ever again. So she left. She gave the information. He was the angel now sent to go find that person. He found Shirley. Shirley came to Machu Picchu and saw all these amazing things. You're gonna have to see the movie. I'm not gonna tell you all of it. It's really crazy though. And so then it's the end of the 2 weeks. And so he takes her to the cab, and he said, okay, I'm not going with you. And she's like, what? You're not going with me? And he goes, no. And I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here. And she never, ever saw him again. And, but she was really upset. Like, what do you mean? And he goes, you have everything that you need. You have everything. I have everything I need to do what? She says, well, to share this information with the world. What? He said, you have all the notes, you have all the recordings, you've been recording everything. You have what you need. So as he was saying, I'm never going to see you again. And you're going to go now and you're going to take this information and put it out into the world. She was furious, like, oh my God. Basically, I'm going to have to go out on a limb and maybe destroy my career and talk about these things. But here's what I thought about. Why did she go through it? Why did she actually do it? Why did she make the movie? Why did she do the books afterwards? It's because she was convicted and convinced that this was freaking real, and that to not share it was like not doing what your purpose was. And she knew it. So she had to do it. And so she did a 4-hour movie about it. And everybody thought she was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Like, she's completely lost her mind. And
Well,
so here we are today. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and I just want to say, so it's funny because here we are today. Lots of people leave their bodies. Lots of people astro travel. Lots of people realize that their mind isn't their body. There's a spiritual dimension that isn't your body that comes and goes. So me and Angela have thought about Shirley MacLaine as being a pioneer.
She was a pioneer.
She was a pioneer that said, like, you remember when she was watching David go out of his body, he was just sitting there kind of, like this, totally in a
bliss.
In a bliss. And he says he was traveling. He said, I was traveling. He said, I was going this way and that way.
Yep,
And,
everywhere.
and she's like,
anywhere I wanted.
and she says, oh my God, can that happen to me?
Yeah.
She was so like, oh my God, I want that to happen to me. And he goes, it will.
Yes,
and then the next thing you know, like Angela said, she popped out of her body and she started going past the moon. She started seeing the earth. She went higher and higher. And then she had that doubt. But that was her first realization that I am not my body. And they teach in religion, when you're dead, you're going in a hole. You got to wait, until God resurrects you someday, sometime in the future. But he's got you in his memory. But that is not true.
And like Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists, other religions believe that when you die, you go into the ground, and that's the end of you.
Or you go somewhere to burn.
Wait until Jesus comes back, and then you'll be resurrected, this dead body of yours, and you'll come back and you'll join somehow you'll just come up and you'll be alive, right?
Yes,
And that's all there is to us. Some people don't even believe that. They don't think you're anything when you die.
that's right.
But the truth is that we're using this vehicle. This is my understanding. I'm not trying to convince you, okay? But
Yeah.
if you're interested in what I believe, that I'm this physical body, that's a body that's housing my real self, that's eternal, that doesn't die. And
That's right.
although my body may go into the ground, as you know, in the Bible, there's been some instances where people left the body and I'm sorry, they left the earth with their body. So Elijah was one of those people. Moses's body was never found. And so they absolutely believe that he was taken with his body. There's certain instances where your body's taken too, but mainly our bodies do die, and this is my understanding, and that when you leave the body, this real self of you goes out of the body. I really truly believe that we're living more than one life, and with all my heart, I've come to believe that. And I'll tell you mainly why is because of the near-death experiencers that I have listened to, and one of them was very real to me and Dan. He came to this church in Colorado, and he was a Harvard graduate, basically darn near close to atheist. Being a brain surgeon, most doctors really don't believe in God for the most part. They just don't. They're not interested, whatever. But he was one of those. Well, he had been adopted when he was a kid, and when he finally got successful, then he's like, okay, I'm gonna let mom know. She should have probably not have let go of me because I'm somebody, I'm a brain surgeon, neuro brain surgeon. And so he found her, but he made the call, and somebody answers and said, oh yeah, I'm your brother. But listen, you can't talk to mom. Something really bad has happened, and I can't talk to you right now, but I gotta go, but I'll get in touch with you later once things settle down here. And he was devastated, like, oh my God, I'm rejected a second time. And oh my God, I have brothers and family. Oh my God, why did they? Oh, and all the hurt all over again, right? Next thing you know, he got some sort of a weird, I think it was bacteria in his body or something, and he died. And his brain was dead. And all of his family and friends and neurosurgeon buddies were there in the hospital room and said, he's gone, guys. There's no brain activity. He's gone. So long story short is he had a spiritual experience. He was brought back into his body by his son, actually screaming to the top of his lungs, no, Dad, no, because they're going to unplug him from the machines. And he was like furious, like, no. And I think it sounded like he was 8 years old-ish or something. Got onto the hospital bed screaming at his dad, bloody murder. You are not Dad. No, God, no, do not do this. So he heard it from the heavenly realm. And the story goes that he decided, and he was allowed to come back into his body, and he healed very, very quickly. And bottom line is that he did get a call from his mother once his brain healed so quickly. And then he got the call, mom's ready to see you. Meets his mother, and on his way up into that heavenly realm, when he came out of his body, he saw a really beautiful woman who escorted him up there. And the brother says, look what happened was our sister died, and I'm sorry that you didn't get to meet her, but she was beautiful and she was wonderful. And later on, when things settle down, we'll send you a picture of her, okay? He goes, that'd be great. So he goes back home, and lo and behold, the picture comes, and he about dropped his teeth, because the woman in the picture was exactly the woman who had escorted him up into the heavenly realm. And he was just freaked out. So now listen, he was a brain surgeon. So he believed that when the body died, that anybody who comes back in the body or comes back alive, I should say, only had some sort of a brain fart, basically, a chemical reaction, whatever goes on in the brain that causes us to see those weird things. Okay. So he always had believed that there's nothing to it, even though he heard all the time these stories of people leaving their bodies and having these near-death experiences. He did not believe them. He said it was a phenomenon. Well, now, after having seen all of this, and knowing that he heard his son's voice, not knowing who the guy was that was screaming at him, please, no, don't go, no. And but he was drawn to that. And so he came back down into earth and back into his body. And his friends all testified, no, his brain was dead. DEAD, dead. So he was at this church building, telling the story to anybody who wanted to come and listen. It was so cute. He had the red Harvard tie, and he had the Harvard clothes with the checkered vest. And I mean, it was the epitome of a dork out of Harvard. And anyway, he just basically said that I'm so enthralled by what has happened to me. I don't want to be a brain surgeon anymore. I feel like the reason why is because he was just trying to prove something to his mother. And now that was all satisfied. And now he didn't want to be a brain surgeon. Now he wants to tell about his experience and the sound of heaven. That was the biggest thing that touched him the most. He said that there was this permeating sound that permeates all things. As if chords were, a net were, it was permeating and touching and permeating all things. And he set about trying to recreate the sound of heaven. And his wife's like, this is the way he told us the story, that his wife's like, what? You're not going to be a brain surgeon anymore? How are we going to survive? How are we going to make it? He goes, I don't know, but I can't be a brain surgeon anymore. So she divorced him. That was the end of it. And so when we met him, he had been divorced. I don't think it had been all that long. I think it was pretty recent. But he is bound and determined. My life's different now. It's just plain old different. I have a completely different reason for living. All the stuff that I've been doing is all been, ego driven, and I'm done with it. I'm done with all of that. But Shirley MacLaine, one of her other books was called I'm Done with All of That. I have that book. I'm done with all of that. So she had all kinds of experiences, and it was just all ego, all these, things that she went through. And she's just like, and probably, I'm going to guess she was in her 70s when she wrote it, but she said, I'm just done with all of that. And, so, these experiences that we have change us, but that was
Yes.
very real for her. And me and Dan's had an experience of coming out of his body.
Oh, yeah.
When he was very,
When
very,
it was interesting, I told Angela, this is really strange, but Shirley MacLaine, Out on a Limb, was the very first movie I watched when I left the Jehovah's
oh,
Witnesses.
wow.
You
I
imagine?
remember.
You imagine? Yeah, I mean, I come out of there. Why? Why was I being led? Now, was I being led like Shirley MacLaine?
Yes.
I mean, how did I know about that movie? I don't even remember. All I know was the very first movie I watched when I came out of Jehovah's Witnesses was Shirley MacLaine, Out on a Limb. And I played it. I think I had the movie. Yeah, I had the
Oh
movie.
my gosh.
And they're very hard to find now.
Yeah.
But I also had a mystical experience.
Ooh,
And I was laying in bed,
oh yeah,
and this was right after the Witnesses. It was like
right after you got out.
yeah, it was almost like I'd been in a prison of, it's almost like I had spiritual blinders over me and all this stuff. And when I left the Witnesses, it was like it was gone. And it was like all of a sudden I'm watching Shirley MacLaine. I'm like, why did I watch? And I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And I was like, wow, that was just amazing. Is this the journey I'm on now? I'm out of this idea. And then I was laying in bed one night, and all of a sudden I was in the room, and I noticed smoke, purple smoke coming out of my third eye. And I was like, what is this? And I was like, wow, and my wife was next to me, not Angela, but my other wife was next to me. And all of a sudden I talked, I said, wow. And when I said, wow, a puff of smoke came out of my mouth. And I went, whoa. And I went, and I blew in the air like that. And the whole room filled with purple, bright purple, like what's on our picture behind us. And I was breathing it and blowing it around and breathing it in. And that was a mystical experience I had. And after that was a literally 20 years of mystical experiences in churches and in many, many, many things. But the very first step was following that curiosity, where church tells you to stay away from, right? Stay away from your curiosity. Don't listen to anything spiritual. Don't stay out of your heart, get into your heads. Follow us. It's all in the Bible. It's all about Jesus, all about Jehovah. It's all about, and I said, no. I said there was something calling me. Angela knew there was something calling her, something bigger.
Yeah.
There's something bigger than what they're telling us. And why are they so hell-bent on keeping us in this idea? Why do they got to use fear and manipulation and you'll be killed, Jehovah will kill you, or whoever was going to kill us, right? And so why are they so hell-bent? Why does Jesus need our blood? Why does he need us to, do all this worship and make him a god and, all this stuff? And Jehovah's, it was like, wait a minute, I'm being manipulated here. I'm being coerced. I'm having my arm twisted. And I said, no. And so I said, I'm out of here. Angela said, I'm out of here. And what a discovery,
Oh,
huh?
man,
You
Dan.
feel peace. You,
And
you
and not
realize God's not angry. You
and I
got
just want to say this though, and
yeah,
just to be very, very real and very honest, okay? You know, when you decide to make changes like this, people are pissed. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest, they're
yeah,
pissed. And a lot of bad things can happen because of your choosing to believe a different way than everyone else. And Dan got abandoned by his wife. I'm not saying because of what he believed, but he did get abandoned. And when that happened, it was a very hard road for him because suddenly he had no daughters. They were gone 2 states over, and he had no wife. All of a sudden, out of the blue, didn't expect it. And so it was very dark road. And one time, literally, he's laying on a mat in a room, and just having lost everything. His car, his phone broke, his apartment was being foreclosed on, or his home was being foreclosed on. Everything was just really, really bad. And so he's living at this boss's house, and he popped up out of his body and went up onto the ceiling and seen himself. So, when you have an experience like that, you somehow realize that everything is not exactly as you thought. And if you haven't had the experience, that's fine. But when you have these experiences, and I've had an incredible experience too that lasted about 2 weeks, where I felt like I was in a whole nother dimension. And I thought that it was like as if I didn't know that everybody else, once you receive Jesus into your life, that you receive the Holy Spirit. And I thought that this experience I was having was, oh, I guess I was a late bloomer to get this download of the Holy Spirit. I didn't really know. And I thought everybody had it. I must have been late getting it. And so it just felt like this incredible peace that was so deep and so blissful. And I lived my normal life. I did all the normal things. I served my community. I had children. I was serving, but I was in a whole nother realm where nothing was wrong. And I realized it didn't matter what anyone could possibly say or do. It just wouldn't take that peace. And it was like I was just, God had just filled me and was never going to leave me. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing on earth. Because I remember complaining to the pastor in the little Pine Community Church, Pastor Dave, why didn't you tell me about this thing in the Bible? Right here it talks about this Holy Spirit that will come and teach you and be with you and like a friend. And why didn't you tell me? And he looks at me like, what? He didn't have any clue about it. Well, then I kept seeking God, and this thing happened to me. It lasted about 2 weeks. And not that the love ever left me, but that deep sense of that everything is absolutely perfect just the way it is. That part of it left me slowly. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Why is this happening? But I feel like that because I was seeking so intensely and I'm wanting to know with joy the more about this God and more about, this Holy Spirit and everything. And wanting to know who I really am, what's really going on here anyway, that I was allowed this gift of knowing what could be, so that I would always have a compass towards that, knowing God knowing what I was about ready to go through after that. Because some things were really, very difficult in my life after that. It was like a compass for me, and it kept me going. It kept me alive on, to be honest with you. And so, what a joy that was. But when you have these experiences, you realize that everything's not exactly as we thought. It's a little different. And there's
yes.
something more. And like that Dick Hansen guy said to you, Dan, I sure hope there's got to be more than this, Dan.
He
This better
stayed in
not
the
be all there is.
programming of fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah,
And he said, God help us, there's got to be more,
there's gotta
because
be
he was
more.
at the age now where he might die. And he's like, this can't be it. And just think about it. He spent most of his life in one miniature little idea and never experienced the grandeur of God, how big God is, that he encompasses all of this. God is everything. God has no beginning and no end, the beginning and the end. So everything in between is all aspects of God. And just think to never discover that. Just think if I would have stayed in the Jehovah's Witnesses, that's all I would ever know. And I waited for the world to end, never discovered my gifts. I mean, it'd been horrible. So that's why we're talking about this today, guys, because we want to inspire you. You're not going to die on this journey. You're going to discover maybe some really wonderful things. And your soul is actually trying to lead you. It's trying to guide you. That's that part of you that's curious. That's that part of you saying, wow, I want that to happen. And so,
I did want to mention one little
Yeah.
quick thing before we go, Dan.
yes.
And I like this woman. Her name is Carolyn Mace.
Oh, yeah.
She's, I think what they call her, a medical intuitive. Dan?
Yeah. Medical intuitive.
Okay, she's quite amazing, and she's like Shirley MacLaine in the way that she's very, very independent. If people start to like treat her anyway, like as if she's above them or anything, she'll say, "Stop, stop, no, 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 don't clap, stop." I mean, that's what she's like. She's real like that. You know, she's like a Shirley MacLaine, a very, strong personality. But she's done it. In fact, right now, I think she's doing this course. And it's called, let me see here what it's called. It's called Nonconformity, Contradiction, and Getting Real. Starts on Tuesday, April 16th, which is this coming Tuesday. Hope you'll come and join me, she says. So she says one of the great stumbling blocks we have is that we're driven by this impulse to become whole, but we don't understand what that means. We have this idea that somehow it's all or nothing. That becoming whole means that there's no more suffering, or there's no more illness, or there's no more darkness. She says in this post, the struggles we have with our own contradictions in ourselves is a great cause of suffering. We can be both kind and ferociously cruel. We can be very clear and very confused. We can be deeply sad, but can also be very incredibly joyful. We are a mass of contradictions, and somehow we have the idea that being full of contradictions is a dilemma. But maybe that's the way it's supposed to be.
Wow.
And that's the genius of the class Mark Marsuik is offering. So I guess she's going to have this Mark guy come on with her, is what I'm getting out of
Yes.
this. And he's going to talk about this. So I don't know why, but that touched me today. I just read it this morning, and it touched me because it's like, guys, what if we just relaxed into the dilemmas
Chaos.
we have, the chaos, thriving in chaos.
Yeah.
Remember that book?
Yeah.
Dan read that book,
Tom
right?
Peters, Thriving in Chaos. I don't have to know everything. It is confusing. It is fearful. It is, but what if I just went in it anyway?
And just relaxed into it. How about if we don't have to know? And Dan, one time he said to me when we were going to some church that I'd never been to before, again, not out of the basic norm of Christianity. And he said, while we're standing in line, "Angela, do you really have to know all these things?" And he goes, what if you just be okay with in the not knowing and just the unknown, just decide to float like. And I right away thought of the bicycle, where it's the bicycle where it's two people, one person's driving, the other person's blindfolded on the back, and they're just feeling this going up and down hills and all around, and they're just not caring. They don't mind, and just, I'm okay on this. I don't have to see, I don't have to know. I thought of this right away, and I thought, wow, what a place that would be to not mind the twists and turns, and not knowing where you're going, not knowing where you're ending, not knowing what's really going to happen. What if I didn't have to know? What if I just said, I'm just going to go where God leads me, and I'm going to ask to be divinely guided, and I'm going to believe that I am, and I'm just going to trust where this bicycle takes me. What if? And I first told Dan, no, I have to know. I have to know. I need to know the answers to everything, because that's how I've been programmed. I got to find the right church. I got to find the next right church. And okay, well, that one didn't work out either. Let's go to another one. And never finding it. I'm just desperate to find the truth. What if we didn't have to know the truth? What if we didn't have to know exactly everything down to minute details?
Just be in the mystery.
Just be in the
Just
mystery.
accept it's bigger than me. It's bigger than most people.
Yes, that's what you said. Can you just be in the mystery? I forgot you
Yeah.
said that part. Yeah, be in the mystery. So how about it? I mean, I feel like that's what Carolyn Mace is saying, is that how about if we don't have to have all these things solved in one lifetime? How about we're just here to have these experiences that we're having, and they're accumulating into the different things that we're accumulating, as if we have this, perfect person of ourselves, maybe call it your immaculate concept of yourself, without all these things that we've experienced. And then you have your soul, who's experiencing all these earthly experiences, gathering information and putting them all together and trying to make sense of it all. But one day, it will just be the experience and the memory of it, and but right now they're percolating together as if they're trying to form something. I don't know. I don't know. It's all a mystery, right? But we don't have to know. But it's okay. How about if we just be okay right where we're at? And I guess that's the challenge to me. I just feel like, how about if I don't have to know? How about if
Yeah.
I can just be okay in the mystery?
That's really good.
So, yeah.
That's really good. And then it gets kind of exciting when you move into that acceptance phase and you give your brain a rest, your fear a rest, your mind a rest. Then you can actually enjoy the journey a little bit. Say it's a mystery. It's bigger than me. I've been in this religion my whole life. I don't know anything. All I know is what they taught me in this one religion. That's my idea.
Right.
And it's just say, I am going out in some confusion. I'm going out into some unknowingness. And that's okay. It's like starting a job,
Yeah.
a new job.
Oh.
You know, I used to work at Ford Motor Company, and boy, that was scary, building seats and doing all this and, new things, putting down the deal, pressing the seat, clamping them. And then they moved me to another department where I had to weld the inner roofs, and I had to pick it up the same time as the other guy, clamp it, weld it, and do all this, use a welder. And then I went from there to the airport, and I had to load airplanes. And it was like, what is all this stuff coming, all the trucks and all these forklifts? And I had to be okay in the mystery to some degree, and then just settle in. You don't know what's going on here. There's trucks going out, there's trains going out to the airplanes, there's forklift putting stuff in the planes, so much in the front. So it was like, whoa, it was way beyond me. So the stuff we're talking here about in the spiritual discoveries, a lot of this is way beyond our normal, belief systems.
Yeah. Did that just go off? That's kind of, oh, no,
No.
that's okay. We have one more quick thing too. And that's that, this is one of those mysteries. Okay. It's like, look, the first religion was not Christianity, in case you didn't know that, but it wasn't. Somebody
No.
said shamanic, Indian kind of shamanic was the first kind of spiritual knowingness known to mankind. But what came after that was the first religion, and it was Hindu. So, Dan and I marveled over that the Bible says that God knits together every man, woman, child, well, every person in their mother's womb. God does this. And in secret, it says, in our mother's womb, knitting us together in secret. It says that in Psalms. I think it's Psalm 119. And so if that's the truth, well, then did God not love these Hindus back in the day because they weren't Christian? That's ludicrous to even think it. God created that woman in his mother, that man, that woman, that child in their mother's womb. And it became something, and it came into being into the womb of a mother who was a Hindu. And so are we to think that God hated that thing that he created? But it was the first religion. And so that's weird, don't you think? And so I don't know. Then different things like Greg Braden, you ought to check out Greg Braden sometime. He kind of done these different experiments showing that we're all one, tons of them. Like, for example, one time this woman had a tumor in her body, and they all gathered around these different people from different countries, different religions, different belief systems. And he had them focus on a couple words, which was, it is done, it is done, it is done, in their own different languages. And so they watched and saw this tumor on the ultrasound shrinking, 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 shrinking. And then all of a sudden somebody said, now. And then everybody started saying, yeah. And they all said, now, 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 now. And to the very end, when it was almost all the way gone, they pushed it like they got, and somehow they knew instinctively to say, now, 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 now. And so they all said it. And all of a sudden, it's gone. The tumor is gone, absolutely gone. And so different minds, different countries, different belief systems, different languages, but they were all one in that moment, putting love onto this person and faith, believing. And what about it? Don't you think that's kind of weird? I mean, it wasn't your Christianity. It was all different kinds of religions, tribes, tongues, beliefs coming together in agreement. And then he did another one where they took a cell, and he showed this on the screen where they took it to another planet. I don't remember which one, Mars, I think maybe, or something. And they still took it and they put it in the half. They put one on this other planet, the other they put on Earth, and then they touched the one I think on Earth, and to see if at the same moment that it was touched on Earth, if it also moved on where it was far away in a whole nother realm. And yes, at the exact split second that they touched it, it moved, and they did it again and again, and it was absolutely connected. And anyway, all science has come to realize that there's this net that we are all connected to. It's proven. This is science. So the truth is, we're all connected. We're all one. But our belief system is that person's bad. They believe a bad religion. They can't be one of us. They must be of the devil. They're not going to go to heaven. And we have this judgment. But when you start to see these things and you experience these things, there's another thing we did in this room with Greg Braden, all different peoples, all different backgrounds, all different religions in this room, listening to Greg Braden, the scientist, show us all these things. This being one of them that I just said. He had us join with a machine he had to measure in the room. He had us all hold hands and then imagine something that we really, really love, each of us, as we're holding hands, and just really let that grow and expand in our heart as we're imagining that thing that we really, really love, and let it expand, let it expand, let it expand. And it measured on his machine. He goes, oh, it's wow, wow, wow. It was so very exciting seeing this lever going up.
Could measure the frequency of love.
Yes.
It's coming from the heart.
And it was very real.
It's called heart math.
Heart math. It was very real. And so he's teaching you how that our hearts have a bigger brain and bigger magnetism, bigger power than our brain does. And he's a scientist, guys, and he travels all around the world. He's been in, he's hung out with, what do you call those guys in the Tibetan monks, and seen all their literature, and I mean, their scrolls, and read them and lived with them. And I mean, this guy's been everywhere, man. And he's amazing, but he makes your mind stretch and makes you see that maybe there's more. Maybe we are all one. Maybe we're judgmental for reasons we don't need to be. Maybe men have made us judgmental of each other and scared of each other and scared of the unknown and scared of what we might be beyond this physical body that we think we are. Anyway, it makes you curious. I hope you're curious. I hope maybe it'll help you to be willing to think about maybe there might be something beyond what you've been taught, because I think there is.
Yes.
I've experienced that there is.
Yes. Yes. So guys, that's going to kind of conclude our show today. And we hope you enjoyed it, these spiritual discoveries, and check out the movie. Definitely check out that movie. You won't be let down. Part 2's actually probably a little more exciting. 2 hours. You can watch part 2 or part 1. Part 1 is a little bit more about her acting and a relationship she had, an ongoing relationship.
Her spiritual discoveries.
It's very interesting too.
It is.
But the second one is gets you into kind of the mountains and Mount Picchu and all the spiritual things. But
her trip to Machu Picchu.
We just want to
And it
share.
was real filmage too, by the way, real filmage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She really was there.
She was really there, and it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
So you will love it. It will probably speak to a part of your soul that knows it's the truth. The mind says, oh, watch out, it's not of this world, it's not what the pastor taught me or whoever taught me, right? But your soul will resonate with it. It will. And you'll say, wow, this is exciting. Life, you want to get life to be exciting. You don't want to just be here and wait for heaven or wait for paradise earth or wait. God said, I gave you all these gifts, and Jesus said the things he did, these and greater you'll do. So we're loaded. We're literally loaded with gifts and many things that we're here to do besides hang out in churches and do their mantra about what you believe. And so anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next Sunday. We don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but it'll be a different type of spiritual discovery that we hope you enjoy. We've enjoyed the journey, and we're just wanting you to enjoy the journey as well. Not be fearful. You don't have to fear. You're never disconnected from God. You're actually meant to go on your journey, we believe. But check it out. See where your heart's calling you. God knows where it's calling you. It could be some totally different than what we're talking. It could be calling you to Egypt. It could be calling you to Israel.
Who knows?
Who knows? But don't be
different.
afraid. And God bless you guys.
God bless
And
you.
we'll look forward to seeing you on the next show, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you. Bye-bye.